This is the Expanding Boundaries podcast.
Do you feel trapped? Stuck in a world of mediocrity, constrained by bad habits, limiting beliefs, and feeling unfulfilled? Do you feel that deep down you know you were destined for much more? In Expanding Boundaries, you'll discover how you can break free and step into your real life, a life without limits. And now, here's your host, Michael McLeish.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Expanding Boundaries podcast once again. Thanks for joining us. Well, today I've got an awesome guest, Mr. Mike Fallat here joining us. And I'll give you a quick background on him. He has a goal here of helping 1,000 entrepreneurs publish books and teach them how to use their books as a gateway to generating seven figures. He's got a company called Dream Starters Publishing. He offers many different services there between ghostwriting, cover design, automated funnels, and fulfillment of the books. He's worked with many business owners all over the United States and all over the world. So, Mike, thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thrilled to be here, man. You know what? We were at the DM Live, I believe that's what it was called, in Florida recently, and we really connected. So it was awesome to sit down with you and get to know you at a deeper level. And I'm just thrilled to be able to continue that conversation on this podcast. So let's have some fun with this, man.
Yeah, definitely. I have to admit, I kind of stalked you for a while before we finally met. I think you had published some books for some guys that I know, and then I started following you on social media. And I really appreciate, you've got a different perspective than a lot. I don't think you pull any punches. And I was like, man, this is a cool guy. So when I got to meet you in person, I was really happy to hit it off with you like that.
Yeah, I can always tell what type of personality someone has by if they like my stuff or they don't. Some of the posts that I put out there, some of the jabs at society, and I've seen that you've liked a few of my posts. So that has given me the green light that you're a good person, just so you know.
All right, I'm validated. That's awesome. Well, cool.
You know RJ Pepino, right?
By name, but I don't know him well.
RJ Pepino, I had no idea that he had such a great personality, right? So you only see him in the group, right?
Oh, he was at the event. We met him.
He was.
Yeah. Okay, now I know who it is.
And then once he started becoming more vocal online, that's when I saw his true personality. We did a book together. I got to interview him. Phenomenal dude. But when I saw him dive into his social media and post certain things that he found funny and like some of the things that I found funny, that's when the real relationship was built. I'm like, oh, your personality is just like mine. I had no idea when we were working together and all that. By your social media content alone, I'm able to see what type of person you are. So I think it's powerful. When you don't hold punches and you show people what makes you laugh, you find your tribe.
Yeah, that's incredible. I know there's several people I know that have made some of their best friend connections through social media. So if you can use it for a tool to really show who you are, not over invest in just scrolling through and being passive in it, but reaching out, connecting with people that are like-minded, some amazing things can happen.
Yeah. Dr. Joe Dispenza has this amazing quote: your personality creates your personal reality. And so if you hide your personality, your reality will never be what you want it to be. So by putting it front and center, it's almost like you attract the right type of person, but you more so attract the type of life that you want more of.
I like that. That's really good. Well, Mike, where in the world are you located these days?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. People ask me all the time, why don't you leave? You can, my business can run from anywhere. I don't know. My family's here. I got my dirt bike riding trails. This is home. And I'm in an area where if shit hit the fan, if the zombie apocalypse happened or World War III, and I need a bunch of people who have guns and land, I'm in a safe spot. So that's why I'm here. North Hills of Pittsburgh. I'm pretty close to northern Pennsylvania, where there is open land, open farms, and a bunch of hicks with motorcycles and guns. So that's why I stick around in Pennsylvania.
All right. Well, that's like probably 2 really long days on the interstate for me to come get to you if the zombie apocalypse happens.
There's a safe zone for you, though, if anything happens, Mike.
All right. We'll see if we can make it. All right. So, you do like to travel, though. I remember you did a long road trip in your Jeep a while back. That was pretty cool.
Yes. Yep, the Jeep
that
across
resonates
America.
with me. Yeah, that was cool. So, with that in mind, I mean, what's one place in the world that you must visit in your lifetime?
Whew, man, that's a really good question to start off with. I've been everywhere that I've really wanted to go. Rome, Switzerland, Barcelona, Paris, Dublin, London. Uh, it- those are like the main ones that I wanted to see. Europe was really, really important to me. So I was able to
Hmm.
cross that off the list pretty early on in my life because I did a study abroad session. So that was huge. I love staying in America nowadays. There's something about just being in a car driving areas rather
Hmm.
than flying. So if I were to say if there's one spot that I want to go to before I die, man, I think in the United States, I would probably say I do want to see Hawaii. I love driving around the country. I'm planning a Route 66 trip. So that is on my
Love
list,
Route
but there's really no
66.
one specific area. I want to go to where Wyatt Earp was, Tombstone, Arizona. So I'm going to be driving Route 66 down to Tombstone, Arizona. That's huge. But if there's one place that I want to go and feel the air and sit on the beaches, Hawaii is probably on that list that I need to see before I go.
Have you researched it at all? Do you know which island specifically you would go to?
No, no. I was a big Mama's Family fan. Do you remember that show at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I used to watch that, and there was one episode that sticks out in my mind, and it was the one where they went to Hawaii, and I'm like, "Damn, that looks like paradise." So before I go, I'll probably figure out where they went in that show, and I'll just go there.
There you go.
That's it.
Well, perfect. Well, cool. So when you travel, I mean, you went all over Europe. You do like to travel all over the U.S. Besides your clothing and toiletry, what's something that you would never leave home without?
It has to be. I mean, I run my business pretty much from my laptop and my phone, so it has to be my phone. If there was one thing that I need to bring, yeah, I'd say it has to be. It has to be that. I can't think of anything else. If as long as I have a phone, I can survive, right? I can run my business. The reason why it's so important to me is because I believe in order to be free anywhere, you need to have your finances in order. And I'm able to do that through my phone. I'm able to see where I'm at financially. I'm able to make money from it. I'm able to so I need that on me at all times. And it's tough to break away. My social media, a lot of people say it's a distraction to them. To me, it has given me the chance to build a business and build relationships. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I tried to build a business here, and it seemed like the city turned its back on me. Really wasn't entrepreneurial, never really embraced me. The moment I broke out on social media, I was able to find my tribe. And I think that if I didn't have my phone, I couldn't connect with my tribe. And therefore, I wouldn't be able to feel free or be free because I think that not only is your tribe available digitally, but you can now have access to obtaining funds and create revenue streams just by having this magical box in your hands.
Yeah. It really, really is incredible. I mean, what you just described is just connection, right? This connects
I
you
need it.
wherever you
Yeah,
are. You're connected to your finances, you're connected to your friends, you're connected to your audience, that's out there and your
I'm
business, right? So
I
that's
I
huge.
I do love in documenting the journey. Like,
Yeah.
when you can document your life, you're creating some type of digital footprint for all time, and what's documented can be multi-purpose too. So,
Hmm.
not only do you have it as an account in your brain, but other people do also, and if other people see your personal life, they get to know, like, and trust you more, and therefore, they're more likely to be inspired by you, but want to be around you and do business with you.
That's amazing. I mean, again, so many of us just think social media is about just filling your time, right? But you can really make it as a tool, and you can be a creator and you can be a consumer. But again, if you're very careful about what you're consuming, it can be huge.
Damn straight.
Cool. All right. Well, you're into the book scene, right? So how'd that all start? Like, how did you get into books
Oh
and
man,
publishing?
it's a crazy story. People think that because I'm in the book world, either I just was in love with books and writing my whole life, or I inherited a business, and the both of those are absolutely wrong. I mean, nothing could be further from that. So it all started whenever I was 22 years old. I just graduated from college, and I was a finance major. And I thought I was gonna go to a job and have a clean office and look at stocks or whatever. And the guy that I was working for at the time owned a bunch of convenience stores. And he gave me a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's why it's on my mantle here, or the shelf. It's the book that changed my life. I read that when I was 22 years old, and I said to myself, I need to become an entrepreneur. I really didn't know what it was. I want to be successful, and I want to be respected. Want to date the pretty girls, drive the fancy cars. And the guy that I took that book from was the first millionaire that I ever knew, and the only millionaire up until that point. So I picked that up and I said, okay, let me get into real estate. So I got my license within a few months, my real estate license, and I bought my first 4-unit building probably within about 7-8 months after reading that book. So here I was off and running as an entrepreneur at the age of 23. And I thought I was the man, right? You have a business, you're 23 years old. It's going to be amazing. Life is going to be easy from here. Well, that was definitely a lie I told myself, because it really became difficult at that point. I was unclogging toilets, fixing roofs, and just being a landlord, and individuals take advantage of young and really, I guess you could say I was immature at that point to even believe that 50-year-old individuals would come in and then, treat me with all the respect, especially whenever I was just this young person who had no idea what was going on, didn't know the rules and all that. And some of them took advantage of me. So that was difficult. But my love was for starting businesses. So I knew that entrepreneurship was my calling, but my true love was starting businesses. So I had this real estate, this 4-unit under my belt. And I thought, well, if I could do this, let me start a business. So I started a business from nothing, major failure. Second business, major failure. Third and fourth businesses, major failures. And here I was in severe debt. And I'm thinking to myself, how could I fail? I see other people succeeding. Well, why did I fail? Well, I was trying to do stuff that I didn't really understand. I was thinking, how do I become the next Steve Jobs? And then I thought to myself, well, if I was failing by trying to become too big, too fast, why don't I break it all down and to create something so simple, so easy to explain, so easy to manage that I can't fail? And that's when I created a company called Doggy Surprise. It was a direct-to-home dog product service, very similar to BarkBox, but with a little bit of a different spin. And I put that together and I made some money. And here I was at dog shows with my guitar. See, you have a guitar back there.
Yep.
I play some 3-chord jingles every once in a while. So I put together some songs. I would be at dog shows playing my music, selling doggy surprises, and I was making money. And for the very first time, people started coming to me saying, it looks like you know what you're doing now. Can you help me start a business? And that's whenever the light bulb went on. And I said, man, I could write a book about how to create your first business, because I failed so miserably in the past. Why am I succeeding now? Well, it has to do with vision, simplicity, demand, and all these like little ingredients that I didn't have in the first 4 businesses. So I put that together. The girl I was dating at the time was an editor. She would edit dissertations for individuals. She was also a librarian. And I coaxed her into getting her to edit my first book. And so there she was. She was editing my first book. I put it together. I didn't think it was that great, but I put it up on Amazon and I turned it into an Amazon bestseller based off of me asking a few other people, hey, how do you become an Amazon bestseller? There's got to be some type of strategy. So I turned it into an Amazon best-selling book, and my life pretty much shifted. My new identity was created overnight. I was a best-selling author of a book called Dream Starter, which became my Instagram handle, my business name, all of it. And I thought, since I was a best-selling author, I would be asked about starting businesses. Well, the world had other plans, because individuals started coming to me asking me about, how do I write a book? Looks like you know what you're doing. And you weren't known for writing books, but you did something. So how did you do it? And that's when another light bulb went on. And I said, why don't I just do it for you? I'll charge $2,000. Mike, I was charging $2,000 to interview people and write the books for them, making very little money, like almost nothing, right? I just needed to have money coming in. I'm thinking, there's something here. I know I could do this because I love true stories. If there is anything that I can do all day, every day, is listen or write true stories. I just love them. I'm obsessed with, like, Evel Knievel and Billy the Kid and all these historical figures. I just love listening to how people made it. So I started putting this together and I said, all right, entrepreneurs, I can help you write a book. And I started interviewing people from people I met on Facebook and Instagram. And my business started to slowly grow. And since then, there's a lot of ups and downs in between all that. But since then, we've helped about 300 and some entrepreneurs bring their stories to life in a book. And as of today, we've just, I don't know if we're at it yet, but 296 best-selling books. This should be our 296th best-selling book push today. And it's pretty wild to see how a book can change not only my life, but anybody who writes a book. If you put it out there in the right manner, you can get speaking gigs, podcast interviews, revenue streams, memberships, a tribe, and courses, and it just never ends. So that's how it all started. And it's been a wild ride because I've been able to meet people from all different backgrounds, all different industries. They teach me what they know, what they went through, and they pay me to do it. That's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, you've got encyclopedia of knowledge just from your clients.
Damn right.
It's just priceless that you've got right there. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
I usually think of books from a consumer standpoint. I never think, well, I would never be an author. And, it's funny that you point out Rich Dad, Poor Dad back there. I mean, that book is the reason I'm standing here in front of you as an entrepreneur.
Incredible.
It's got to be one of the top 3 most powerful entrepreneurial books in the country or in the world, maybe. So that changed everything. And I didn't even know what I was looking for when I read it. I just knew I wanted out of my situation. I wanted financial freedom. I'll send it to you. I'll see if I can find it. There's a picture of me when my son was just born. He was 3 weeks old, and we were visiting my in-laws in California. And I was reading that book, and I fell asleep. We both took a nap. And so he's like swaddled next to me, and that book's laying on the pillow right next to us. And that was the moment when I decided like I was going to be an entrepreneur. That changed everything. That was, that began the path. That was the catalyst for me quitting my job and standing here today.
How did you get that book? Who gave it to you, or where did you hear about it?
Man, my sister actually gave it to me, and it was one of the best gifts I ever got, I suppose. But here's where I screwed up: is I got it, and I was like, "Yeah, that sounds good," and I set it on the shelf. It was probably on the shelf for like 2-3 years before I finally picked it up and said, "I've got to figure out finances. I got to figure out how to make money." This book's called Rich Dad. I've heard about it. I'll read it.
What year is that? Because it came out in 96, I believe.
Yeah, this was 2000. This would have been 2000. Was my son born? 2012. So it sat on my shelf for 2-3 years before that.
Man, I get to interview people, like I said, from all different backgrounds. That is the number one book that changed many entrepreneurs' lives. The number one. Think and Grow Rich is number 2, but that is the book that I hear more and more because I ask people, hey, what's a book to change your life? That's the one. It's pretty wild. And when you dive deep into it, I think I get the idea to become a ghostwriting company simply because I found out that Robert Kiyosaki is the master brander, business builder, but he's not the one that sat down and wrote most of that book. It was Sharon Lechter that brought it to life in the written form. And maybe she interviewed Robert Kiyosaki back and forth and they brought it to life. But then you dive a little bit deeper and you find out Keith Cunningham is the one that gave Robert Kiyosaki the idea of having the Rich Dad, Poor Dad storyline. So you realize that this book is a game changer and it was brought to life by someone else that was a writer. So imagine, why don't I just put myself in the situation of Robert Kiyosaki? I could be the person who's all about branding, the message, the vision, the events, the podcasts. But if I can outsource it and have the who, not how approach like Robert Kiyosaki did, now you're playing at his level. Maybe not at his level just yet, but that's what he's doing. And success leaves clues. So why would he do it that way? Because his focus should be on revenue streams. Writing is not a revenue producing activity. The marketing, the branding, and all that afterwards absolutely is.
Love it. Yeah, I had no idea there was that backstory behind it, which is, you brought up Who Not How, another great book of like, I've got the idea, I've got the plan, who can help me execute this thing? I think that's huge. And that's a big part of what you do in helping other entrepreneurs that want to write a book, right?
Yeah, it's reverse engineer how you can be of value to somebody, right? I outsource my weaknesses. I find the who. I don't worry about the how. But maybe you are someone's who for their how, right? So I have a book company And the way I'm able to be valuable to someone else is to take care of that how. And so it's not like you can't, you don't want to think that, oh, I got to make sure that I just outsource everything. No, you focus on what you're great at, and then you outsource what you hate doing, don't like doing, or you're just not good at. And the moment you start doing that more and more, you start to free up your life, free up your time, and you put your energy into things that actually produce money for you. It's powerful.
Well, you got me thinking here, and I'm going to be a little bit selfish in this next question, but we've got Mark Evans, who is he's my mentor as well as yours, and
Yep.
yeah, you got the DM hat on there. I mean, he said many times in our group, like everybody here, everybody in this mastermind should have a book, if not multiple, right? And I'm going, how would I ever write a book? I don't even know where to begin. I had a master's thesis. It was a technical paper that I did. I'm like, I think of all the hours I spent typing on that, and I think I would never want to write a book. So, how does someone get over that mentality? Like, where do you help in somebody like me that's like, yeah, I would like to get some of my messaging out there, but it just seems overwhelming.
Yeah. So the first question I ask individuals when they're thinking about writing a book is, all right, what is the vision? Where are you going in life? Who are you becoming a year from now? If I were to define you in a word or 3 words, what does that look like? And if you tell me, hey, I want to be the ERC guy or the business guy or the motivational guy, the tax guy or the finance guy, whatever it is, or the real estate guy, great. Now you have a target. That is very, very important because nobody cares about your life until you help them with their life. And in order to help them with their life, you need to specifically put down bullet points or takeaways that are actually going to help them with something. And they're not going to pick that book up unless they know if it's going to be valuable to them. So once you have the vision of where you're going, now you start to identify lessons that you can teach others that will help them get to where you're at now. And those lessons will help position you as the expert in accordance with that dream vision of who you want to become. So, if I were to ask you, since this is a great personal question, a year from now, Mike, if someone were to define you or that you wish they would define you as, what does that person look like? What are you doing? What are you the expert at?
That's a tough question. I don't know if we have enough time to get into it because I might him and haw all over the place on that one. I think I lack some clarity in that, but
Could
yeah,
I jump in there real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you see yourself doing this podcast a year from now?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what if Mike McClelish equals expanding boundaries, right?
Okay.
So now you write a book about expanding boundaries. And what's this podcast all about? And I already know, but just give me your thoughts on it. Expanding boundaries. What is this? Yeah. What does this podcast help you do?
Yeah, this is actually a great segue. Thanks for helping. So yeah, this podcast is all about that. It's expanding boundaries, not just physical boundaries, but expanding and growing in your mindset and overcoming a challenge. There's a fence in the way. How do I get around this thing? Or maybe I just need to go over it, or maybe I just need to plow through it. Right?
Beautiful.
So
that's
there's a lot of analogies to that.
Yep. So expanding boundaries. Let's say you write a book called Expanding Boundaries: How to Break Limiting Beliefs and Create a Life That You Deserve. Right there. Start off with that. Now you identify the lessons that you've adopted in your life that help people do the exact same thing to where you're at right now, right? Because the moment you put a book out there and you create all these other opportunities, your life's going to change. So you can't account for all that, but identify the lessons. And maybe all these lessons were already talked about on podcast episodes. So maybe pull out all those ingredients, put them down on a list, and the number you're looking for is 15. 15 takeaways for the reader. And if you can identify that, now the hardest part for most people is to identify the stories that taught you those lessons. So 15 lessons combined with 15 personal stories. The moment you have those 2 aspects, the last piece is the target audience. And since you have a podcast, you're so far ahead of the game because you know who your listeners are. You just say, well, I got a lesson. Now I got a story, and I'm going to teach it to these type of people. That's pretty important because now you can tailor all your messages to that one specific person, their age, their gender, their thoughts, their beliefs. Let's just say it's someone who's about to leave the corporate world and start their business. You know what they're thinking, right? The fears, the angst, the excitement. Put yourself back in that person's shoes and just speak directly to them. Lesson, story, target audience. So now what I recommend, and this doesn't have to be done across the board, but I recommend you now have that first lesson in front of you. And that first lesson, let's just say it's vision, right? So keep it as simple as that. Before you quit your job and start a business and start expanding boundaries, you got to have vision of your life a year from now. What does this lesson mean, and how did I learn this lesson? If you put that question in front of you and you record yourself answering that question, or you hire Aunt Sally to ask you that for you, then it's going to be easy for you to communicate and articulate it to someone else, which can be transcribed. As long as you record it, you can now take those thoughts, those ideas, and make it tangible on a piece of paper. Personally, I love having someone interview me like we're doing on this podcast because it just makes you think of things in a different way. My system is I sit down with individuals and I interview them, and then I'm able to pull it all out of them. Hey, lesson number 1 is this. What's it mean to you, and how did you learn this lesson? And as long as I keep you talking, it comes to life on a Zoom call, which now can be written via a writer. And now it can be brought to life. And once it's in front of you, we do adopt the Jordan Peterson philosophy. The way to become successful is to create a lot of bad first drafts in life, whether it's learning the guitar, learning to dance, or writing a book. Let's just get a draft done, right? And once it's written, 15 lessons, 15 stories geared towards a target audience, all positioned to help you become that next ideal version of yourself, we send it back to the client. Client now goes through it and tweaks it. Once it's in front of you, your ideas will start to flow even easier. Ooh, this sentence is good, but let me add more on to that because there's some details. Ooh, I hate this sentence, but let me add this in. You fine tune it to your liking. And once you do that 2 or 3 times, your book is ready to go. Title and subtitle, we help out with them after the interview. That's never where you start. It's usually after the content is started, right? You never want to marry the content to the title. You want to marry the title to the content because you want to get the content down and then say, you know, what fits that the best? Expanding Boundaries is an awesome title. I love that for this podcast. It may stick for the book, but you don't want to say it has to be called this. It may work. You just don't want to be completely locked in on that. So once the book is written, you figure out a great title. My recommendation, if you're out there, 3 to 4 words max that give you this great synonym for your name. Mike McClelish equals what? Expanding Boundaries is an awesome podcast name, but it's an awesome synonym name also.
Yeah.
I want Mike Fallat to equal money and books. That's why I created a book called $1 Million Book. So I want people to say, oh, Mike Fallat, he's the $1 Million Book guy. Oh, he's the Dream Starter guy. Oh, he's the attractive story selling guy. Make it easy for people to know who you are, what you're all about in the shortest amount of time and amount of energy as possible. So that's where you get the title. And once you have the title and the subtitle, which I recommend should be a how-to or a guide, right? You're giving explanation to how this book is valuable. So create a how-to, break self-limiting beliefs, and create a life that you deserve, right? The ultimate guide to breaking limiting beliefs and creating the life you deserve. So now you have an easy way for you to explain. Title, subtitle, or down. You go to a cover design. You can find designers everywhere. My recommendation is you pick 2 to 3 dominant colors, mostly text that can be seen in a thumbnail version on Amazon. And now you have the book that can be put together in an easy manner, simple to understand on Amazon. If they saw it online, they know what you're all about without even reading it. So if someone were to interview you, Mike, and they say, looks like you wrote a book on expanding boundaries, they already know, oh, that's going to help people break their self-limiting beliefs and create the life you deserve. You've already just made it easy for them to define you. And that's the magic of it. So book cover's done, title's done, book is written, upload it to Amazon. And as I did with my first book, you turn it into an Amazon bestseller based off of leverage, positioning, and timing. My network, your network, everybody's network, buy the book within about a 3-hour window, and then 8 hours later, you're an Amazon bestseller. And the reason why that's important, guys, very much like in the podcast world, you want to get high ranks in anything, so you have another trophy. The book is one trophy, but best-selling author is another trophy, because it gives you social evidence and social proof. If other people like you, then I might like you. So you need to create some type of social evidence to make it easy for other people to trust you without really knowing much about you. And if it says best selling or best ranking, when it comes to podcasts, best selling author, the market's already signed off on you. So you're worthy of at least 2 seconds of my attention. And you as the author, what you do with that attention, really what matters. So you get that attention, social proof, and then you monetize it 1,000 different ways.
Wow. Mike, that was like a master class in writing a book. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
That was awesome.
Did that help out?
Yeah, that helps me a ton. And hopefully that helps some folks listening here in the audience that maybe are wanting to do something like this. You just broke it down into all these really simple steps. And a lot of the heavy lifting that I have fear about is overcome just in that discussion that you just had with me. So thank you for that. This is okay. Now I'm like, okay, this is my boundaries have been expanded. Maybe I can do this.
That's what we do here, right?
Yeah, man. That's awesome. But cool. Well, thank you for that. Well, let's see here. I wanted to get into a couple other things before we run out of time. Mike, if you could, I like to ask this to everybody. If you could rewind the clock and pull your younger self aside, what do you think would be the most meaningful advice you'd give them right now? Maybe this is 20-year-old you.
Oh, man. Great question. I would say take your time. Be more patient. I used to always want to force things. I would get angry at even my first project manager. She's still with me, right? So she was my assistant, then project manager, but she is my project manager now. She's been with me ever since. She even told me recently, you're so much nicer now than you were when you first started. And I think it's because I was so impatient. And maybe I was so impatient because I was so desperate and I had no money and this business needed to have an urgency. So there's that. I would just say that patience to me has become such an asset. And even when it comes to dating girls and maybe even forcing my vision upon people, I used to get so caught up with why don't they understand me? Why don't they like me? Whatever. And I would really get distracted in life and kind of get off my path by trying to be people pleaser, I guess, to a certain degree, and force my will upon them to try to get them to see a certain side of me or to like me more. So if I were to go back to my 20-year-old self, I would say, man, you got to slow down. You got to be more patient, right? This world is not built around you, right? You're just this person who's floating around and you're going to do your thing. And the more you try to force your will or your thoughts upon other people with the expectation that they will actually do something with it, you're going to be disappointed. And nothing good comes from that. And the moment I started to just say, I'm going to be myself, I'm going to put it out there, but I don't care what you do with it. I don't care if you do anything with it at all. I'm just going to live my life my way. And whoever's with me is with me, and whoever isn't. So I started to have more patience within the business, with other people, and I became a kinder, better person. And I think that has really escalated my life, right? I have more patience with individuals, so my blood pressure is lower, but I have more patience with businesses that I invest in. So I used to think, man, if I do something, I need to make money tomorrow. Well, now I'm in a position where that doesn't really have to happen. So I play the game smarter, and therefore I play the long game, and I see way better results.
That is awesome. Awesome advice. All right. Well, thank you, Mike. How can our guests listening here connect with you or find you?
Yeah, I would say the best way is go to Dream Starters Publishing. If you have any questions about me or the process, you can find out all you need to know there, dreamstarterspublishing.com. Facebook and Instagram. You can find me, Mike Fallat, Fallat, or go to Instagram. There's 2 Instagram accounts that I use. One is $1 Million Book Pro, and that's the business account. And the other one's my personal Instagram handle, and that's The Dream Starter. So if you really want to get a snapshot of who I am as a person, pull up my Instagram, look at a couple pictures. That's the easiest way to know what I'm all about. So hopefully we can connect on there.
Yeah, that is perfect. I'll make sure that we get all those links in the show notes as well, and you'll just be one click away.
Thank you.
All right. Well, perfect. Mike, well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I learned a ton. I hope our audience did too. I honestly have I've got some action items now. I got to start moving forward here with you. So
thank you, man.
Yeah. So I guess for our audience here, again, think about one big idea or takeaway that Mike shared with us here, and go out there and just take some action, whether it be big or small. Maybe it's time to start moving forward and writing a book, right? So just go out there, take that action, and expand your boundaries. So with that, I'm going to conclude the show. Mike, thank you again for being on the show here today. This was an amazing interview. Hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. Guys, if you're out there, envision yourself a year from now and start putting together trophies that help you position yourself as that ideal version. And I'm telling you, $1 million book will lead to $1 million life. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see everybody here on the next show. Thanks again for listening.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.